Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back. I'm with Harley from Sadler's News. Now, there's a couple of things. Being a Walsall fan, you're guaranteed. One, Tuesday nights when it's wet and cold, we're not going to win a game. Two, deadline days are going to be utterly disappointing and either quiet and disappointing or busy and disappointing. I think we all know exactly what it was this year round. Harley, how have you been? How did you find August?
I've been all right. August has been a tricky month. It wasn't quite what we were expecting. I think that's fair to say.
Yeah,
Mm,
yeah.
it,
I think the pre-season excitement went in about a week, 2 weeks. It just sort of collapsed. Um, and I don't know about you, but I actually feel quite deflated at the moment about it all.
yeah, I think going into Tranmere, we were all kind of a little bit hesitant because Tranmere are kind of touted to be kind of playoff pushers. So even though we kind of lost there, it was a very kind of slim loss. So that wasn't too bad. And then we played all right the next game at Doncaster. I was at that game and I thought we were quite good. Lost on penalties, which is just the Walsall way. We know
Yeah,
this, so didn't mind that. And then it came to Forest Green, and even though they are top of the league and they're probably quite comfortably the best team in the league right now, it was a bit of a pathetic performance. We got absolutely turned over by them, and I think since then there's been a real sense of deflation, like you say, around the team. It's not quite had the same spirit since then. We're slowly kind of bringing it back just a little bit with a win and a draw, but yeah, it's not what we would have wanted.
no. I was quickly looking at the league table because you're right. I mean, Tranmere, I think a lot of people would have put as being comfortably looking at the playoffs this season, and yet their only win of the season has been against us. So I don't know quite know what that says about us, about them. But yeah, like you said, it kind of the the first couple of games, if you include the cup, showed a bit of promise. There was definitely a style of fight there that you thought, right, we're not going to get turned over by teams. And then Forest Green came along,
And we did.
and like you said, they are top of the league. They're top for a reason. And like Tranmere, people are going to expect to see them up there. I think it's when you get to games like Hartlepool that it becomes difficult. But then again, looking at the table, Hartlepool are fifth. Um, so when you kind of look at the teams that we've played against, we've got Forest Green, Hartlepool, Stevenage, who are ninth, who we obviously managed to beat, which I think was a good victory. Um, and then further down the table, Tranmere. And for the life of me, I cannot remember who the fifth team was. Um,
Yeah.
Scunthorpe,
Scunthorpe is who won
Scunthorpe,
one.
who have been,
Almost got that win. That was very unlucky that they got a goal late on.
yeah. So I think, are we all being a bit doom and gloom because of the pre-season hype, or actually, when you look at it, it was a difficult opening month, and three of the five teams are currently top 10, um, and either top of the league, fifth, or joint with seventh in terms of points. So it's not it's not the worst start in the world, but I think it's like you said, game against Scunthorpe. There was a big opportunity, and Walsall blew it right at the end. Um, and then what they've done is they've followed that up with a really disappointing defeat. And I think it's that where people start to get annoyed and to kind of slip back into what we've had for the last 5 years. Um, would you say that the frustration is a result of building over a few years and it just being a culmination of everything?
Yeah, since we've been down, there has been a bit of a negative feeling, and we've not quite put together a team that looks incredible for the league it's in. I mean, that's kind of the state of play when it comes to Walsall. We're not a massive team. We're never going to buy up any leagues, so we have to work with the budget. But we've never quite had the team that has the desire and the quality. So there is a bit of a frustration there. It's a bit difficult to say with our start. I think the problem is that although we've played some good teams, we've not had one good performance where we've really looked comfortable winners. We played Stevenage, and yes, we won, but we scored in like the 5th minute and sat off for long parts of that game and just sat deep and defended. We need to be winning games comfortably, get scoring a couple of goals. And if we can do that, that'll settle a lot of nerves. But we need to be winning those, not winning 1-0. We need to be winning 2-0 or 3-0 or 3-1 or something like that and killing off games. And we haven't had that performance yet. And that's what's making everyone nervous.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, after Stevenage, it was sort of it's that thought of have we scored too early? But there wasn't really much of a we're going to seal this off and get a second goal, which is concerning. I mean, we've only scored 3 goals in 5 games, which isn't great. But on the flip side of that, if we're looking with a positive cap on, it's 3 different goal scorers. Now, we're going to come on to this later, as I'm sure everyone will fully be aware. We don't have a lot of attacking players at the moment. So would it be, is it a good thing that at least all 3 of the attacking players are off the mark? Or does it show that at present we don't have that threat at top and we're relying on people to just chip in as and when they can?
I think it's a little bit of both. One of the things I kind of have noticed is the 3 goal scorers you've got are Kiernan, Phillips and Wilkinson, probably our most effective goal scorers. It does remind me a lot of last season where the rest of the team, and I'm talking midfield backwards, so midfield and defenders, aren't chipping in with goals. That's another key area. You look at someone like a Forest Green and they've got their wing backs scoring, they've got their midfielders scoring. So there is an element of that to it where Kiernan, Phillips and Wilkinson should be scoring. They don't have to score every game, but they should be scoring most games. And then we do need someone to be scoring every game. We need the way that Forest Green have a Jamil Matt or that Bradford have Andy Cook. We need that type of goal scorer. I just don't think we have it. Someone who can score every single game.
Yeah, I mean, fans won't want him being brought up, but you'd stick a fiver on Cook to score at the weekend.
Exactly, you would.
Especially, I mean, against Walsall. But Bradford are that sort of team where they've got someone like Cook that if they are playing badly, he only needs half a chance and it's going to be a shot on target or a good effort or even a goal. And I think that's what we're lacking at the moment. We've got 3 attacking players who, yes, they've scored, but they should have.
Yeah, exactly.
All 3 should have 1 each. I think the good thing is that Wilkinson's off the mark. I think he's going to be carrying a lot of the attacking threat. And to get his first one off his back, I think will help with getting him into a rhythm. And really, he should have scored a couple more before now. But other than that, I mean, throughout the team, there's no one else really that has looked like they'll score. And I think that is a concern. Looking further down the pitch, I mean, it's not even that much further, but Earing doesn't look like he's going to be the goal scoring attacking mid, more of a creator. And then behind him, there's nothing in the 2 holding mids and the defence.
Yeah, I think what I'd like to see is us work on set pieces. I mean, I don't know what defence we're going to be running in terms of the centre-back pairing, whether it's going to be Monty and Taylor or Meniassi's going to play. But Taylor and Monty particularly are very big and Ward is quite tall. So we should at least be getting kind of goals from corners because we're
and Hayden White is quite
corners.
Tall as well.
Yeah, we've got a lot of kind of taller players. That's one of the things that Matt Taylor brought in. He brought a lot of height in and we haven't really used it. We haven't, done very good set pieces, who haven't whipped good balls in. And you look at other teams that utilise that, it's an easy goal here or there, just one from a corner, one from a free kick. And that's the type of thing that wins games. So there's that big issue that I think we need to address, because we've got the physicality to score goals from those areas. That's one of the things we really need to chip in there and just get those easy goals.
Yeah, I think the better or the more that you score from those sort of the wide free kicks and the corners, that teams will be fearful of it. Exactly. Which once teams are more fearful, that's when mistakes come in.
You look at Rory Delap and the long throw-ins and stuff like that. They were terrified of the long throw-ins, and that's where the goals came from. The long throw-ins weren't even that effective. It was the fact that the teams were so scared of it.
Same with Darnell Furlong at the moment. Exactly. I mean, but teams then try and stop that and focus on that, opening up other areas of the pitch and other aspects of the game. And I think at the moment, I know we're trying to play out from the back and sort of keep the ball and move it from side to side. But in terms of goal scoring, I don't know what the style is yet. And it shows by the fact that we've only scored 3 goals.
Yeah, we've been crying out since Adebayo left for just a good goal scoring player. And it's hard to identify that attacking style when they're just not going in. I mean, I was in pre-season and watched a few games, and we were scoring a kind of wide range of goals. Some were through balls, some were coming from crosses. We've got Stephen Ward, who's a very good crosser of the ball.
Yeah.
Not so much a defender, but that he's got a really good cross on him. I just don't know. Like you said, I don't know what style of goal scoring we've got. Is it to feet? Is it, lumping up to a centre forward? What is it? Because Phillips doesn't seem to know either. He doesn't know where to put himself, whether he wants to bring the ball down, whether he wants to distribute it or first time hit it. He doesn't know. And I think that's a big issue, is what is it?
Yeah. I mean, looking sort of at the league table, a lot of teams are matching us in terms of goals scored. I mean, yes, 3 goals isn't great, but you've got Northampton, who are in 8th, that have only scored 3. Vale in 10th have only scored 3. Tranmere have only scored 1 goal. Obviously, it was against us, but it does seem that it doesn't take a lot to win games in this league. And I don't think we've been particularly solid defensively, but again, there's teams around us and higher up the league that have conceded the same amount of goals, yet they are. I mean, Forest Green have conceded more than us. And I do wonder whether this 4-2-3-1 is a little less gung-ho than it could be. And if Labadie and Kinsella do drop deeper, that we need to have an attacking 4, and that it should be a bit more split. But what's your thoughts on the formation with the players that we've got at the moment?
I've kind of been thinking about this a lot recently, and I think Matt Taylor might be holding back just a little bit. And what I mean by that is he's new to management, and I think he has a lot of good ideas, but he's playing it a little bit safe. He's not being as daring or as cunning as he could be with his tactics. Yeah. And I think he himself will probably know that, and he wants to try some kind of different things, but he's a bit scared of them not working and costing us games. And the way he's setting up at the moment is doing that anyway, because he's a very highly touted manager. A lot of people, he's in the Spurs under 18s. A lot of people speak very highly of him. They say he's got a very good kind of footballing mind. So I think he's got more to offer. And I think he just needs to be a little bit more confident and try and push the boat out a little bit with his tactics. Because I don't mind the 4-2-3-1, but I think it's just a bit negative. And I think he just needs to be a bit more inventive. I saw at the Crystal Palace game in pre-season, he was playing Zach Mills as like a number 6, and that worked quite well. I mean, that was probably just because we didn't have Earing and Labadie at the time. But I liked that. I thought it was something a bit different. It was a bit refreshing, and he was changing up the team, and it got everyone a little bit excited by the way he was playing. And I feel like we've regressed a little bit because he's not quite doing that at the moment. So I want him just to be a bit more confident in his ability as a manager to put into practice his ideas, because I think he's got good ideas, and I think if he can do that, we're going to start winning games.
Yeah, I think for me, one of the big changes that it's not even changes, but tweaks I'd make the is that midfield too. The two sort of central holding midfielders. I think both Labadie and Kinsella are disciplined enough to know between them who should stay deep and who
Yeah.
should maybe go forward and support the attack. And I feel that they are two players that will win the ball back and they will get the move going again. But I feel that if Labadie's dropped deeper and sits just in front of the defence, that Kinsella should look at that and go, right, let's operate really in between the 10 and the 4. Yeah. And at the moment, I think, like you said, I think Taylor's playing it safe and going, you guys sit a bit deeper and win the ball back. But I think as the partnership grows and as time goes on, hopefully if Kinsella's just won the ball, Labadie's going to make that effort to push forward. Because at the moment, it seems that we win the ball back and it's, right, we play out from the back, so we take it back and then work from there. So who in the kind of early part of the season has impressed you? Who has been a bit lacking, in your opinion?
So the ones that have impressed me, I'd say Roland Meniasse. He's really impressed me since he's kind of come into the team, because he wasn't the first choice.
No, and also I think when the signing was announced, there were a few sort of raised eyebrows that we're signing a defender that can't get into a fellow League Two team on loan.
But I really like him, and I think he did all right at Grimsby. Sure, they went down, but that team was pretty dire. But he did a good job, and he looks quite dynamic, and he looks quite fast, and he knows what he's doing. And I think he's been a bit underrated, and I think he really is showing his quality, especially alongside Monty and Taylor, who are quite similar. They're kind of cut from the same cloth in the terms of how they play, and I think he's offering quite something different. He's kind of carrying the ball forward and he's distributing it. So I really like him. Rushworth, really good goalkeeper. Sure, he's conceded a few, but that's not his fault. He's made some ridiculous saves.
Yeah.
So really happy with him. Wilkinson, like him. I think he's got a really good finish on him. We just need to find the right position for him. Personally, I think it's out on the right wing so he can cut in and put it on his left. That's what he did at Orient, and 15 goals last season. So, but I really like the way he plays. He's very kind of casual, but he gets the job done. And then Labadie, I'd probably put in there as well as another kind of the newer signings that I'm quite impressed with. Sometimes I think he takes it a little bit too easy, and I'd just like him to up the ante a bit more and just have a few more progressive ball carries and just get the ball higher up the pitch.
I wonder how fully fit he is. And that goes for the whole team, actually. But I think Labadie had a really disjointed pre-season, and I feel that giving him a game off would be a good idea, but then again, the only way he's going to build up match fitness is to keep playing. I think that the fact that he's now got weeks in between games, it's better. The two that I feel have been quite well, one I've been very impressed with, the other I think could be a very good addition, are the wingers, Kiernan and Shade. I think Kiernan was a player that people kind of went, oh, okay, we've got a winger, bit of experience in League Two, cool. But he's actually been quite a tricky player, and in games that we haven't done well in, he's at least been able to come out with his head held remotely high. And Shade, I think will be a very good player. He just needs a bit more game time and a bit more adjusting to League Two, and obviously needs to be fit to play.
Yeah, I agree with that on Shade. I think that the only problem I have with him, and it's not so much a criticism as it is more just something I want him and Matt Taylor to address, is just not losing his head when things aren't going his way, when the ball's not flowing through him, just to kind of make the right decisions, even if he hasn't had the ball for a good while. When he gets it, just make the right decision, get his head down, and just be positive. Because I think I watched him at Doncaster particularly, and he just started to kind of fall out of the game a little bit. He was kind of trying to take on players and then changing his mind and then waiting too long to distribute it. And I just want him to make the right decisions.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So the big elephant in the room, and the thing that's a lot of fans felt a bit happier after Saturday, and then slowly it's declined over the last couple of days. Transfer deadline day. Many of us wanted 2 players in. There were calls for 3. How happy, sad, indifferent are you with how all sort of ended the transfer market? Obviously, we should state that the free transfer market is still open, so business isn't fully concluded. But yeah, what's your thoughts?
So it's not a criticism of Miller himself, but more just the business on deadline day. I was quite underwhelmed with it, because I said kind of on the day I wanted a permanent striker. I wanted a number 10, just a loan in, just to cover for Holden or an Osadibi. And then I wanted a left back just loaned in. And I didn't think that was unreasonable, because it's 2 kind of young loans, which is quite easy to sort. And then a permanent striker, which we should have had done anyway. I kind of didn't expect that. I thought we'd get maybe 2 in. I thought we'd get 2 loans in, a 10 and a striker. And I would have been okay with that. And it wasn't even that. It wasn't, it was just Miller, and he hasn't got a particularly great goal scoring record. Barnsley were making him play right wing back because they said, we can't play your striker at the moment, which is never a good sign. And it didn't fill me with a lot of confidence. It wasn't what we needed. We need someone who is just going to be guaranteed goals. And I would have rather us just gone to the non-league and picked up someone who'd been quite good in the non-league, and given him a chance on a permanent deal. I would have preferred that, because at least then that he's got something to play for. He's got something to prove. There's a tendency with loan players that they know whatever happens, they've still got a contract at the parent club. So if they don't do great, there's no real punishment for it.
Yeah, I think when the rumours started about Miller, I was a bit indifferent, and I sort of thought, well, what can he, and this is a bold statement, what can he offer that Lavery and Gordon couldn't? Because at the moment it feels as though we've got a player in that had a good season 3 years ago, and then, like you said, has struggled and has been playing out of position, a couple of unsuccessful loans, and that's sort of what we've got rid of and what we're trying to move away from. For me, I felt we needed a real target man. I know that Phillips and Wilkinson they're not your sort of short, weak strikers, but I felt that we needed a real aerial threat, someone that can hold presence. A real presence. And I don't know what the thought behind getting Miller is. I don't know what he offers different to even Phillips. That being said, if he struggles, it's not helped him as a player, moving him around, giving him these loan spells, giving him, playing him out of position. So if he does start, and if he does find a bit of a home here, who knows? It's happened before, and it will happen. We've seen players go off from us and be successes elsewhere. we've seen players come in that have done really well with us and then not replicated that elsewhere. I will give him my backing because he's a Walsall player, as long as he puts the effort in. My thing towards him is I think there was a lot of negativity aimed towards him because of the way that history's repeated itself.
Yeah.
It's another late signing. It's then a case of that's it, we're done. And it just felt a bit underwhelming when the business up until that point had been actually quite good. I feel that we've brought in a good caliber of player, and then it was almost like a right, who can we just get?
Yeah, definitely. It did remind me a lot of, I'll say, you're coming in January, pure because it was so late in the day.
Yeah.
And I think it's a complex situation because there was a few targets that we'd identified. You know, Fullerton had gone to meet with players. And I think that if we'd have won our first few games, we'd be sitting here and we'd be talking about having a new striker. And I think it'd be a permanent one. And I think it'd be a more inspiring signing. But I think the form didn't really help us in that respect and we lost out.
Yeah.
And I think we've been searching for a striker. Every club up and down England is looking for a good striker because that's what wins games. And they're very hard to come by. And I think we've just kept running out of options. So I think we eventually settled on Miller because it was the only person we could really get. And that's what it feels like. Whether he is or isn't, that's how it feels. And that's how it feels to the fans. And that's why they're so underwhelmed by it.
Yeah, and do you know what? I would love to sit here in a month's time and go, he's been some signing. But like I said, it just feels like, okay, we missed out on everyone else, so this is just the person that we can get.
It's like just hiring a striker, saying, "Oh, it's better than having no one." But
yeah,
is it? I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. But it doesn't fill me with confidence that he's just come in so late with such a poor record, and I wish him all the world in the luck, and I really want him to do well, but I'm just not sure. I'm just really not sure at the moment.
Yeah, I am. One thing that does give me a bit of hope is that it seems as though the free market has opened up a bit. If a lot of players agreed to mutual terminations in the last couple of days, which to me looks like they have turned around to their clubs and gone, I would rather be playing.
Yeah.
And I think there are players out there. I mean, I know there's been questions of who would we sign. I'm not going to pretend I know a lot of the free market, but there's been a lot of sort of Championship League One and League Two clubs that have released players, I believe, in an effort to get them signed and get them off the wage bill. The worrying thing is, though, that if the clubs wanted rid of them, how have we not picked them up already?
Yeah.
Because you look at, I mean, the one that's been floated around, obviously not as a potential signing, but has been floated around as a bit of a joke, is that Ossie Yore's been released.
Yeah.
Now, if we were interested in him or a player like him, the fact that he's been released now indicates that they were going for cheap or free before.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's just slightly worrying that, you know, there's clubs desperate to get rid of players to reduce their wage bill. Why haven't we been able to pick up players, or even not even buy them, but for such a nominal fee?
Yeah. It is a tricky one, and it's something that we've all had that idea. Now, I'm in no way suggesting that we sign this player, but you look at someone like an Andy Carroll, like he's been released, not him, but someone of that kind of that ilk. You know, someone, like you look at like the Bristol Rovers have signed Leon Clark, something like that. Yeah, we just need to get someone who's experienced, who knows where the goal is, and just give them a chance. But my worry is is how much wage budget do we have left?
Yeah.
And is Lee Pomlet willing to stick his hand in his pockets a couple more times to bring in some potentially higher wage players? Because all those players released from the higher leagues are going to be wanting a fair whack of money, and that's a worrying thing. Is he going to back Matt Taylor once more? And I think Taylor needs to be a bit more demanding of the board and say, look, we don't have an out and out striker at the club who is contracted to this club.
Yeah.
And I don't understand how that's happened. So he needs to go to Pomlet, he needs to go to Fullerton, he needs to go to whoever and say, we need a striker. This club cannot operate and be successful without a striker contracted to the club. So if they need to have a look at the free agents, see who's available, and just take a punt, because I don't mind them just taking a punt, even if they get 6 months, it's better than nothing, because those players are playing for their careers. Some of them, others are just looking for a few kind of easy seasons, but there are some gems out there, and we really need to just book up our ideas and find some budget and just get someone encouraging.
Yeah, I think what's not helped is how Pomlet's not bragged, but reassured fans that we are in a very healthy position coming out of COVID. And I think that has not helped the situation.
No, because he has oversold the finances a little bit, I think.
Yeah. And yeah, I just, like you said, I feel that there was an opportunity to make a bit of a statement and go, we're going to go out and get someone. And bringing it to kind of to sort of round up deadline day and August before we go on to questions, attendances haven't been that bad.
No.
And that's with some really shocking away support. At the moment, we're looking on a Saturday around 4,100, 4,200. Now, getting a bit of a, you know, like you said, a Leon Clark, someone that's a bit more of a household name, would have maybe got a few fans who are on the fence back in the stadium. And if you do pick up a couple of results, coupled with maybe hopefully a few more away fans turning up, we're not far off pushing that 5,000 that Pomlet wants. But it feels like, you know, the issues behind the scenes on match day, the lack of sort of, you know, it's been 2-3 weeks. I can't remember who the last player we signed before Miller was, but
Shea, doesn't it?
Yeah, it just all seemed a bit like it stopped.
Yeah.
Like there was a real chance to sort of kick on and really get fans back, but it's just fallen short again.
Yeah, and I think there is a lot to it. Although we'd have to pay kind of 1,000, 2,000 plus to get one of those players in. There's a lot of them. I was reading about Jack Wilshere, who said he can't find a club. Like he really, really wants to play. Yeah. And there are players who are willing to take a pay cut just to be playing again, just to get fit. Because even if we can have them for a season, just so they can get their match fitness back.
Yeah. Or even like you said, 6 months punt. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Obviously not that we would ever sign Jack Wilshere, but the fact that there's no championship club or even high-end League One that will go, look, we can't afford your wages, but what we can do is we can give you 6 months. And then if you're enjoying it, you stay to the end of the season.
Exactly. And there are players out there who just want to play, who just need that. And that's what we need to be looking at. And then that will help with shirt sales. You get a big name in, people start buying more shirts. You get the higher attendances, more shirt sales. That increases revenue across the business because you're getting more food kind of sales and stuff like that, and match day programs. That whole kind of side of it increases and gets him a little bit more money, which will make him feel a little bit better. We need someone like that, because at the moment, who do we really have that if you went to someone who wasn't a Walsall fan, who's our best player, who's our most well-known player, could they even name someone? Yeah, we
Yeah.
need a big name. We need someone who's going to sell shirts, and we can go and get that. We can go and just get someone who was released from the Championship, who was released from League One last season. Maybe they're a bit older, maybe they're a bit slower, but if they know where the goal is, that's all we need, and that's the sort of thing we need to look into.
Yeah. Yeah, totally agree. Right, we're going to move on to questions because we've had quite a few questions today. Let me load up. Right, so first up, Sammy did ask, were you expecting more than one deadline day signing? And do you think Miller was the player that we needed? Personally, I don't know if I was expecting one more. I thought we'd have had someone in before deadline day and then another one on deadline day. So I don't know whether, in answer to that, it's the deadline day signing or the gap like between Shade and Miller that's the disappointing.
Yeah, I was expecting two, and why I was expecting two is because we announced Miller at 9, and that left 2 hour window. I thought we'd try and get something done, and announced for 11 o'clock, because it leaves a healthy window there. And it just kind of didn't come to fruition. And that was a little bit disappointing. There was a big window between Shade and Miller, but I really thought that we were just waiting and waiting and waiting just to get it done and all confirmed on deadline day. And it wasn't. It was just Miller. So I think I was expecting more than one, to be honest with you. And as regards, is he the player we need? Only time will tell. But
yeah,
from looking at his record and everything I've seen about him, not really. He's not what we need. He could be useful to us, but he's not what we needed.
No, it feels like we signed a squad player.
Exactly, yeah.
Right, Sean Russell. Will a fit Holden and Shade make a difference in the final third for us? Yes, massively.
Yeah.
I do think that I'm not counting on Holden at the moment because it's so unknown when he's going to be back. But I think obviously he will because he's a quality player. I think Shade will as well because of how direct he can be. He's different to what we've got going forward.
Yeah, I think Holden, absolutely. He's a known quantity. We know what he can do. We know he's that link between midfield and attack, and he offers a lot and he creates a lot. And a fit Holden transforms that team, and it makes it look like one of the better teams in the league. He's that good at this level. And Shade, I mean, I've already gone over what I think of Shade. I think he's a really good player, but he does have a few things to work on. But absolutely, he should be in the match day squad. Yeah, I think he's coming back for Bradford. He's not fully fit, but he's going to expect some minutes off him, so he should be back soon.
Yeah.
And he offers, like you say, he offers something different. He's quite tall, but he's very fast. He's powerful. He's skillful, and he's a different option. So yeah, absolutely, those two can make a difference in the attack.
I think that's
just when they're going to come back.
Yeah, that's what's not helped. I say the three because I'm going to add Osadibi in there. Everyone thought that Osadibi might be able to continue where he left off last season, and he just hasn't. And I think that, alongside Holden not being fit, has meant that actually Earring is now the starting number 10, which I don't mind because I think the only way he's going to get better is by playing. So that's not a bad thing. But when you had Holden, Osadibi underperforming, and Shade getting injured altogether, that has seriously hampered the attack.
It has. I'm very disappointed by Osadibi. Because in pre-season he was quite good. He was quite good at Doncaster when he was playing alongside Labadie as more of a centre mid. But he's just so on and off. It's very infuriating. And I think we can't rely on him. And Holden, when he's fit, we can rely on him. And that's what I was hoping Osadibi could do, just be a reliable link between the attack and midfield, and he just hasn't been that. And that's one of our big issues is creating, because we don't have. Is Earing really a 10? He's not. He's more of like a kind of advanced centre mid. Like he's not quite a 10. He's not quite an 8. He's kind of somewhere in between. He's more like a box to box than anything. And he's doing an okay job, but we really need that number 10 back. And I just hope and pray that Holden can just recover and just get back as soon as he can and not get injured again, because it really does worry me, because he's had a reoccurrence of the same injury. He was a week away from playing, and he came back, and it's ruining his career. I just can't trust Osadibe at the moment.
The thing for me is that I think Earing was signed to take the pressure off of Holden. And instead he's having to play instead of, which is not the role he was sort of signed to do. But I like the fact that he's doing it and he's actually holding his own in League Two.
Yeah.
And I'd like to think that he will only get better with that.
Yeah, he's only going to improve. He's only 22 and he's highly rated at Halifax and he's highly rated by Fullerton for a reason. He's a good player. He needs more time to develop and he needs to work with the coaches and he needs that game experience. But although he is holding his own, we can see that he's not quite ready. Like he's a season or so experience away from being what he should be now. And that's not his fault at all. He's been thrown into a situation where he kind of has to. And he's swimming more than he's sinking. But I don't think he was quite ready for it. And it's a situation he's been thrust into. Yeah. And that's kind of Osadibe's fault for not stepping up and continuing his kind of impressive form that he showed last season.
Yeah. I think I know the answer to this one. Jord Hunt. Is this squad realistically good enough to get out of League Two? No, Jord. No, it's not. I think, like you said, it started off really well, and then the recruitment has just sort of gone, who can we get to fill a bit of what we need, rather than who are going to be players that can really push to improve the squad.
I think it's not a categorical no for me, because when it comes to League Two, it's not so much about the players you've got, it's about what you do with the players you've got. And if you can just grind out consistent results, you can get out the league. But having said that, I think we're about 75% of the way there to having a really, really good squad. And I think the signings, we used a lot of budget and it's kind of not worked out how we wanted. I think a few of the signings haven't quite been what we wanted. Stephen Ward comes to mind. He's not been that kind of experienced left back that we really wanted to just kind of lock down that position.
Yeah.
Zach Mills, I don't know what's happening. Is he injured? Is he just not playing? I'm not even entirely sure, to be honest. And I think a few of those players are a little bit disappointing at the moment. Phillips hasn't quite hit his stride. And we're probably a left back, a striker, and a backup 10 away from having a really good side. And I think we just need to work on getting someone in who's a good striker, do a bit of business in January, and just grinding out results. There's no reason why we can't be sitting here in May and talking about promotion. But we've got to get those results and we've got to get the right players in.
For me, I think defence, we've shown, and with Rushworth in goal, that we can shut teams out.
Yeah.
Midfield, like Kinsella and Labadie have shown they can, be kind of an advanced defence with the way that they win things back. It's just we don't look like we're going to score enough to get out of the league. And I think for me, that's what it all boils down to. And that's why I don't think the squad is good enough. However, I'm happy to be proven wrong by Miller. Sean Ansell, what free agents are available realistically? I'll be honest, I don't fully know who has been released in the last couple of days and who's signed in the last couple of days for different clubs. So I'm not going to hazard a guess on that. The only ones that I know of are sort of ex-players, and I don't think that that's the way to go. Harley, any three people that you know of that you think, yeah, we should be trying to get them?
Off the top of my head, it's a little bit tricky. I'm not entirely sure because a lot of the ones I'm kind of aware of are more ones that have been released by Premier League clubs.
Yeah.
So they're kind of a bit unattainable for us. I mean, there are people. There is Connor Wickham, maybe. I mean, if we could get some budget for him, then I wouldn't mind that. That would be all right. My friend was telling me about a player called Nicky Jose. He's apparently a quite good striker. He's a free agent. Wouldn't mind that, but we've got to kind of. I'm not going to sit here and rattle off a load of players confidently
No.
just because I don't know the market that well, but I think they are out there, and we've just got to find them. And I think we need to, and we should stumble across one of them at least. There's Wilfred Bonney, who I wouldn't mind taking a look at. I think he was at Newport, or he trained from for a little while, and I wouldn't mind him. I think he could, realistically, he could take a pay cut to come and play for us for a season, just so he can get his fitness back. I wouldn't mind that because he was quite an accomplished goal scorer back in the day.
Yeah. Right. Final couple of questions. Oliver Smith, who do you think will be the one to watch this season?
Oh, I'd probably give it Connor Wilkinson. I think he's got that sparkle, especially in front of goal. He's got a really good finish on him. We saw it against Stevenage. It was a very clever near post finish.
Yeah.
He showed the keeper he was going to go far post and then cut it back near post and completely sold him the dummy. And I think he does that a lot, and he's very strong on his left. And I think he'll score quite a few goals for us. So he's my one to watch.
I am going to go with. I was going to go Shade, but I think I'm going to go with Kiernan. I think he will. Yeah, I don't know why. I just got a feeling.
Yeah,
just got a feeling. And then if I can find it, because my phone's just locked. Lovely. Final question is from Lee Reynolds, and it's: does Lee Pomlet put too much pressure on the coaching team? There's a lot to it, and I don't know. What I think is that he's put all of his eggs in one basket.
Yeah.
And he's basically gone, I am stepping away and giving it to Fullerton. What concerns me is that I wanted Fullerton to do the video that was released today.
Yeah.
On the clubs to talk about transfers, to talk about the recruitment process. I wanted him to hold his hands up and go, we missed out on a couple of players. We all know that it happened, but I want that. Yeah, we got someone that we were chasing, but we missed out on a couple of players that we thought would have really bolstered the squad. I felt that I expected nothing that Lee Pomlet said today in the video surprised me.
It's a tricky one because we don't know how much pressure he's put on Matt Taylor, but I challenge you to find me any chairman that doesn't put a lot of pressure on their manager.
Yeah.
Because every single chairman wants to go and win the respective league they're in. So there is pressure on him, but he has given them a decent amount of money and things haven't gone our way. I don't think there's too much pressure on him. I think there's probably as much pressure as there would be on anyone else, because if you're an inexperienced coach, the pressure is to just get results and start playing positively. If you're an experienced coach, there's pressure to hit the ground running. So there's always going to be pressure. And at the moment, there's not too much. So I don't think there's too much pressure on him at all. I just think that there's that amount that you would expect any chairman to give any manager.
I think the pressure's on Fullerton, not.
There is a lot of pressure on Fullerton, especially with him being the first director of football we've had.
Yeah.
The signings have been good in part, and I think he hasn't quite used his contacts as well as he could have done. I think there was a few kind of where he probably should have been and gone for a couple of lads from Palace, or he's worked a bit in Spain. Could he have brought a youngster over from Spain maybe? And I think it's not been bad, but I think he probably could have done a little bit of a better job.
I think this actually, I completely forgot about this player until it's just like you're saying, using contacts. Keziah Sterling.
I was just about to say Keziah Sterling, actually. Yeah, he's a free agent, isn't he?
He's a free agent. He will have come across Taylor. For me,
if I was worked together quite a bit.
If I was, I'd pick him up, because I think that although he's not the name or the basically goes against everything we've said, but he's a talented young striker.
But I think in that respect, although he's not experienced, it's a name. Everybody knows Keziah Sterling because he was a very promising young player at Spurs. And he was a very promising young player at Spurs for a reason, because he showed potential. And I think, because every fan has said he's someone we should be looking for since Taylor signed. And I think we'd be more than happy to have him. He might not be the experienced striker, but he'd be a good option. And that's the sort of player I would have liked to get in alongside an experienced striker. I think that would have been a very good. If we could have done that on deadline day, Sterling and an experienced striker, that's a fantastic deadline day for me.
I think even Sterling and Miller, because then you look and you go, great, we've got a couple of options now. I don't
think we'd have minded Miller so much if we'd have had someone else to sign along with him. I think it's just because it's him, everyone's a bit disappointed with him.
Yeah. So the next game is Bradford away. I got a bit of stick online for this. I wasn't happy. I said that we sold quite a few numbers because I think it was around the 320 mark or something like that for tickets sold, which I think for an away day to Bradford is pretty decent. It shows that there is that backing still there, and that give it match day sales as well as a few more until tomorrow lunchtime or lunchtime today, depending on when you're watching it. You could push 400, which I don't think so. I think that is a good effort from Walsall fans, especially as it's on iFollow as well.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's terrible. It's about 2.5 hours from Walsall, about 2 hours from kind of most places in the Midlands. So you're not going to expect a ridiculous turnout. I mean, we managed to get 300 to Hartlepool. I think if we can get 400, that's not bad. And considering, it's been a tough start to the season, a few fans, have lost faith a little bit.
Yeah,
I think that's all right. I think that's pretty good turnout. We're loud and we're proud as always, and I think that's all right. Anyone expecting 600-700 is living in a bit of a fantasy, to be honest, because that's for that distance. People aren't going to go that far based on the results we've had.
Yeah, I agree, and I think it's been mentioned a lot, but the players should take note that they're still getting the backing, and if they just string together a couple of results, that backing will grow more. So, what do you think for the game then?
What for Bradford? I think it's going to be a tough one because Bradford are good. They're a good side at the moment. Andy Cook, he's a bugger. Like me and you have talked about this before. He's just a bugger. Like he just gets goals from nowhere. He's in fine fettle at the moment.
You always expect him to score against us.
Yeah, and Lavery as well. I've got a feeling Lavery's going to score just because of how dreadful he was for us. He's just going to score. Like he just will. It's just written in the stars. I think if we can put up a good performance, anything's possible. We could win, we could draw. I don't think it's off the table whatsoever.
No.
So I think we've just got to go play our style of football, play as well as we can, and see what happens on the day.
I'd take a draw.
I'd be happy with a draw, to be honest. Love a win, be happy with a draw.
Yeah.
I just want to see an encouraging performance. I want to see us really go for it. I want to see us engage the press more because you look at our fitness. The reason our fitness levels really struggle It's because Taylor wants us to press, but the press isn't very effective because we're pressing in ones and twos. We need to press as a team, and then we win the ball back better and we have more possession. So I think if we can press as a unit, that'll save a bit of fitness. And I think we could win. We could, but I'd be happy with a draw, like you say.
Well, Bradford had a pretty poor outing at the weekend. Some insider information that I managed to get hold of was that Bradford they just didn't have a good game. And I think it's like you mentioned earlier, anyone can beat anyone in this league.
Yeah.
What was said though was that Cook and Lavery looked awful. So therefore we know that they're both going to score. So I'll take a 2-2 draw.
I mean, a 2-2 draw, that's still the most goals we've scored in a game. So that's not bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyone can beat anyone. And it's a very tricky league. And we've just got to grind out those points. You know, come the end of the season, if we can get a point here, that's all right. But we then need to carry on, and the teams we can beat get 3 points and just keep building, just racking up those draws and wins, and just trying to lose as little games as possible. That's what it all boils down to.
I think while we're not, like you said, having a complete performance, or we haven't looked like we've played really well, if we can pick up a point here, point there, or win like we did against Stevenage, that's important. And I think following up a good result against Stevenage, the second half of last season, going into the start of this season, they're looking pretty good as a squad. So yeah, I think a decent point away at Bradford would just get things bubbling nicely. Anyway, thank you everyone for watching. Harley, thank you again for coming on. Hopefully, in a month's time, we can talk about a few more goals, maybe a couple of free transfers. Could we be in the top half of the league? Are we going to have nosebleed territory?
Hopefully. I just want to say thank you to everyone for watching. Thanks for having me on. And hopefully we're going to have something positive to talk about in a month's time. And I'm sure it's going to be better, because it can't really be much worse, to be honest.
And that's the killer phrase, ladies and gentlemen. It couldn't get much worse. Thank you all for watching, and we will see you soon.
See you later, guys.